Okay, so this is for the autopilot of our Tesla. The last time I went for a long trip, which was to Vegas over 2 years ago, when I first, almost a year and a half ago actually, when I first got the car, I used the FSD and tried to go all the way out to Vegas, and that FSD adventure just wasn't that great. This time around, my son and I, Justin and I, are gonna go for a 6-hour road trip. We're not gonna review exactly where we're going, but we're going to Northern Cal. We're gonna take a long drive, and we will use FSD. Let's see how the adventure goes. We will do our best to start counting, like, once we get on a more smooth path of how many times we have to interact with it. There's a couple things that's going on. Couple, like, precursors. Supposedly, you don't have to touch the steering wheel as often anymore. That's number one. And let's see how it really navigates through it. Do we have to make any stops right now? Like McDonald's or anything like that?
I don't think so, unless you want something.
You know what? We'll probably just hit it when we're on the road. We're gonna have to charge, that's for sure. Even though, because miles wise, it's quite far. So the first destination says I need to stop by at Button Willow, which is a good 3 hours away. So let's just get out of the congested area and go from there. And we'll keep you guys posted. Okay, so we have now switched drivers, and we're at Button Willow. So what I would say is that overall, from Irvine up to Button Willow, still in California, we're going to be in California, it's been okay. Other than the fact that when we were going through LA, the city itself, and we went inside the city.
Yep, we were like in the city.
In the city, there was really two instances where I really did take over because of the fact that I just didn't want to get honked. Because the FSD was really driving like a grandpa, like, yep, Justin says. Otherwise, it's been very good, especially on open roads like these. I know it's a little blown out because of the sun, but open roads like these, it just worked pretty well. But what I would say that didn't fare well, which I really had to monitor, was the charger. The charger was a slight issue. When we first got to our charging destination, the first time I tried to charge it, it really didn't recognize. I did disconnect it, connect it back, then it started to charge. But when we went in to use the restroom and got some food, it wasn't really charging us. So I had to come back out and move the car and go to a different charger. Still Tesla infrastructure. But once we got that connected up, literally just traditionally 20-25 minutes, boom, back on the road at 80%. So right now FSD is doing pretty well, not going to complain. And he's driving it now, so we'll see kind of how it goes. Do you have any comments, because you've been observing?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is it really just drives like your grandparents do. Like, I don't really know how else to put it than that, but the big thing we did notice was it hesitates too much while driving. A lot of the decisions it makes, it takes too long to take action.
I think Justin put it best. Drives like a grandpa and hesitation. The indecisiveness. I think those are like the two keywords: indecisiveness and the juggling back and forth, like contemplating, not exactly know what to do until it took a little longer than what we would, as drivers, would do. Those are the two main observations as we're taking this 6-hour road trip. So we'll keep you guys posted, but so far so good. We're still alive. We're going at it. Okay. So we are at our second charging stop, and this past leg of the trip, Justin drove for about 1.5 hours, 2 hours. Yep. We went from the 5 then to something called like 47, 49, or 41, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And then to get onto 101 because we're going towards Cupertino. But the 40 whatever it was had a lot of constructions.
Yep.
And what did you think about Tesla?
It did not reduce the speed for any of the construction zones at all.
Well, to be fair, we used that assertive mode at that time.
Yep.
And in theory, assertive mode should, with vision, be able to detect signs and stuff to recalibrate and adjust speed.
Yeah, it was supposed to auto detect all the signs and adjust the speed based off of what it was seeing, but there were clear signs labeling the construction zone and the speed limits, but it did not reduce the speed based off of those signs.
For example, it would say construction zone 35 mile per hour. But because the road originally says 50 mile per hour, it still reads 50 and not the 35, even though there's clear signs and flashing devices telling us it's 35. Now, when the assertive mode's on, with the dial on your right-hand side within the Model S, we couldn't even dial down the speed.
Yeah.
We had to go back into the app to turn that off. So that was one thing that we really did not like. Additional observations. We don't like how tight the car takes the corners.
Oh, yeah, it's really scary.
So what I mean by that is like when we turn, while we don't make super wide turns, we don't go hugging the curbs. And we're making a right-hand turn and there's a curb on your right, we don't hug it. And the car, makes that turn so tight that at times it almost like when we jump the curb.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the most comforting thing. Again, the street driving, it's not the most optimal. The freeway and the highway driving, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, aside from the weird phantom braking that I had for whatever reason.
For whatever reason, when he drove, he literally, for that hour and a half, 2 hour drive, he literally had like 4 to 5 episodes of phantom braking. Drastic too. And I'm not talking about gentle, very drastic. So I'm getting ready to get back on the road to make our final leg into our destination. We'll go from there.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so we made it to our destination. So this is where we at. Right here. What is it called, Joss?
This is One Infinite Loop, aka Apple's headquarters.
So yeah, we drove 6.5, 7 hours because we took our time.
Yeah.
To come up here because there's something for us to do. He really wanted to come, and that's why I was like, all right, let's take a day or two to come up here. Now I'm pretty sure we can't really walk around much, but it's just cool to be at, I guess, the place where a lot of the devices that we like and enjoy, where it started, right? But
yeah.
We'll see what we can do. But on the same note, but finishing off the vlog with the car, no doubts on the freeway. I think the entire trip overall, the car pretty much drove itself 85 to 90% of the time.
Yeah, it did a really good job. I wouldn't say a lot of the things were its fault. There were just some situations where it should have reacted to what other drivers were doing on the road.
So what we're trying to say, it is not perfect, but it works.
Yep.
Especially on a more open and less chaotic freeway. There were cars that were just zooming in and out of lane as you come up into the vicinity of Cupertino, and I just had to take over.
Yep.
It was just like the safest thing to do. The car would have drove itself, but then still the speed fluctuation was still sensitive. But overall, it was a good experience. I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah, it was really nice actually, because we didn't have to focus too much on the road, just enough to where if we need to take over, then we can.
We focused on the road, but like you said, just enough to make sure that we're all safe.
Yep.
Okay, you see the traffic here. Needless to say. So Justin and I are on our way back from the trip. If you watch our vlogs, you know where we went. We went to Northern Cal, Cupertino, where the headquarters of Apple is. We visited a couple of things, but I think this is our closing kind of statement with regards to FSD for Tesla. Today is May 20th, 20 something. It's
25th.
Yeah, 25th, 2024. So whatever version that is out is just the latest one that we have. You drove a good 2 hours, several hours actually. The drive was 6 hours, but we're still on our way home because of the LA traffic right now.
Yeah.
As you can tell. But what are your thoughts?
I definitely say, I mean, we said it earlier, it's pretty good in a straight line on a freeway. On the roads, it takes the turns a little too sharp. We didn't like how close it was to the curbs.
It was really tight. The turns were really tight. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and then it also hesitates too much, especially merging. When you hit the turn signal, it takes like, I don't know,
a little more than a human decision to figure out which lane to pick.
Yeah, it takes like 10 or so blinks before it starts going, and then it takes a while for it to actually get into the lane. So yeah.
Yeah, but like right now we're recording a vlog and it is driving on its own. Now it's on a 5 freeway. But then again, like I said, we are at a congestion. Okay? And we are literally going like 15, 20 miles per hour. So it's actually perfect. But the total drive on the way there, it drove about 90%.
Yep.
On the way back right now, I would say it drove about 95%.
Yeah, we pretty much just left it on once we figured out what lanes to stay in and what speeds to set it at.
I did have an encounter on the way back where people were really pushing me. I mean, they're going faster than what I'm comfortable using FSD speed-wise. So we had to kind of turn that off, pull to the side, let those cars pass by, and then put it back on again. Overall, I'm going to tell you that on drives, on straight drives, on the more rural areas and things like that, it did very well. We even went through, so on the way up, we went through wine country.
Yep.
On the way back, it took us on a reservoir route from Cupertino. Both of them were very different, but both of them performed fairly well.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm giving it a thumbs up for sure. If I have to rate it 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 9 because on the freeway, absolutely. 90 to 95% of the time, you don't need to really interact other than monitor the speed. And then if anyone's cutting you off, things like that. Anything to add on the highway side?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. It's really, you have to just watch the other drivers more.
Yeah, the car itself reacts pretty well. But for city driving, what I would say is that in a mid-sized town like Cupertino, it did okay. So 1 out of 10, I would give that like a 5.5, 6. Because some of the roads were still a little bit more tight, and the way it took its turns and decisioning when it signal, how much it will creep out before you make a turn, that part still needs some refinement.
Yep.
It works, but it's not perfect. In city driving, like back in LA or even our area, I would absolutely tell you it's not ready.
Yeah.
I would give it a 3. You really can't just sit back and relax. So on the freeway, absolutely worth it. Now, let's close it out by talking about current offering by Tesla. You can still buy it, purchase it outright. But right now, I think when we saw it over the weekend, it was $8,000.
Yeah.
And we don't believe that's worth it.
Yeah. As a one-time purchase, the only time it would be worth it is if you're driving long distances on a freeway every single day.
Consistently, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like those people, the people who would be doing that wouldn't really be buying an electric car to begin with.
Fair.
So it just isn't really worth it for most people.
So what I would say is that, but the other option that they have is the subscription base.
Yeah.
$100 a month.
Yep.
Now, for example, summer months are coming up. If you're taking road trips with the family and so forth, and you're comfortable enough and you're on freeways that it's pretty open where you just really have to cruise at a 65, 75 mile per hour speed, I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
especially when you're not in a congested area like in the LA area. So I would suggest to look into the subscription base instead of investing a lump sum of money into it. I enjoyed it, so overall.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm still pretty new to driving, and even if I had to drive my Civic Type R out here, I probably would have had fun.
But I think you're less skeptical now.
Yeah, absolutely. I trust it a lot more to do everything that it says it can do.
Yeah, so, well, for those who own a Tesla, try it out, because I think if you haven't tried the free subscription, do try it out.
Yep.
We liked it, and overall, good job, Tesla, especially on the freeways. City roads still need some more work. Last note to add, Tesla does collect a lot of data. There are reasons why that Tesla is, per se, ahead of the curve. There are other technologies are quote unquote better, but they just don't have as many data points for them to perform that analysis, to form those algorithms. I think that's the advantage that Tesla really has. But either way, try it out. Until then, stay safe and keep driving. Take care, guys.